5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Coming to you live from the White Picket Studios in Houston, Texas, this is the Realty Ruckus. If you are in any way, shape, or form involved in the real estate industry, this is the show for you. And now, your host, Alan Hernandez.
Hey guys, what's going on? Good to be here today. We have had a phenomenal morning. Some guests showed up accidentally, which was awesome. We weren't expecting them, but thanks very much to Ashley Patton and Chuck Norris. We're going to have them on next week, and we're going to talk about some really cool stuff regarding insurance policies and what it means to buy subject to and whatnot. But today we have a really special guest, and that's Jerel Ehlert, attorney Jerel Ehlert, right?
I am an attorney, yes.
And Jerel, you've done a bunch of work in the past on subject to properties, but today we're going to talk about a bunch of probate stuff. And here in just a minute, we're going to talk a whole bunch about that and what you've learned and what you're teaching. You're actually doing some classes over in the Rich Club as well.
I am.
So we'll talk more about that. I'm going to dive real deep. In the meantime, I get a chance to rant a little bit about some of the news that I read this morning. And
let's go for it.
And I think, man, it's interesting because, you know, if you guys look at our last show, our last guest mentioned something that I thought was interesting. He hadn't watched the news in 7 years. Did you guys catch that? He actually cut the news off. So, you know, I did the same. I didn't purposely do it. I just hate paying for cable. That's like one of my pet peeves. Every month when I get that cable bill, it's $120. It used to be $200. I actually called them and complained. And they were like, all right. It's only $120 now. So for a while that kept me happy, but now it's like every time I get the bill, it just annoys me. So finally, you know, we decided to just cut it off completely. We don't have cable at all, and that stinks because even though I don't like watching, you know, TV or the news or any of that kind of stuff, I don't get a chance to watch some of the sports events now. And there's no other way to watch it. There's like HBO Go or Netflix or any of those other services that we have for TV. There's nothing there that's live sports.
Well, I mean, they have live packages. You can buy the NBA league pass, but you're going to spend $250 a year on it.
So you might as well just have cable, right?
Exactly.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So anyway, last night my wife and I were like, all right, look, this is there's a real problem here. Yeah, we don't want to pay for cable, and we don't want to watch the news, and we don't want to spend money on this useless, you know, service that we don't use. But then again, like when there's really cool stuff happening, like the NBA finals, we don't get a chance to watch them unless we go out somewhere. So last night we went out to BW3s, and we just hung around. And it's kind of funny because, you know, you guys know this, but our audience doesn't know. I quit drinking completely a few months ago, and it's the weirdest thing walking into a bar, even though like BW3s is not really a bar, but you know, I guess you're expected to go in there and buy at least a beer, right? So we go in there and we're like, no, we're gonna have some soda water and lime, and the waitress is like, you know, the whole script flip. She's like, what do you mean? You're not gonna buy beer? No, actually, you know, we're not drinking. Why, are you gonna buy some wings? No, we're not gonna buy some wings either because we're on a diet, and you know we don't eat wings. So we were that annoying client last night. We caught the last end of last night's game. Man, how awesome was that game? Where Steph Curry finally just loses it.
I don't know about an awesome game. It was a pretty awful game.
I thought it was awesome. I thought it was cool how he you know, you can see that he's getting more and more frustrated, and finally he just gets to the point where LeBron elbows him in the back of the neck. Did he elbow him in the back of the neck? Was it accidental, or did he do it on purpose?
I mean, the way that I saw it, Steph was kind of just standing in front of him. LeBron knocks him over. Somehow Steph Curry gets called for the offensive foul, and then gets thrown out of the game because he proceeds to throw his mouthpiece at a fan.
Yeah, I you know, it's funny because I know, and I remember like turning around and telling my wife, Steph is such a good player, but he got mad first, and my wife has a saying where she says he who gets mad first always loses, and I feel like that was the case last night. He was getting his buttons pushed over and over and over, and finally he just completely loses it and throws his mouthpiece. Did he actually hit somebody with that mouthpiece?
Yes.
Hit a fan.
He hit a fan?
Yep.
Is there charges for that, or what happens when you actually throw something?
I don't know about charges.
Like, do you get assault charges for hitting someone in the eye with your mouthpiece? Or
he went up to the fan and apologized.
Yeah, that's got to be embarrassing.
That's a good talking point for the fan today. He gets to go around telling everyone in his job, "Hey, I got hit with the mouthpiece from Steph Curry.
Steph Curry's mouthpiece in my eye.
I bet he got to kick the mouthpiece.
Yeah, that's horrible. And all I got was an apology. No, man. I mean, there's, it's kind of crazy because you would think that at that level of professionalism that they would know how to handle themselves, that you wouldn't have that situation. But then again, you have so much riding. I mean, this is the final. So, I saw that his wife posted something on Twitter. Did you guys see that?
Oh, she was like, "This is rigged."
Yeah.
Look. I'm not about sports being rigged. I'm just there for a good fair game.
I thought it was funny that she said it was rigged.
It looked rigged.
You think it was rigged?
Those fouls just were absurd last night.
Yeah, they were.
And there was a few times at least that Steph Curry went up.
I say let the people see what they want to see, and the people want to see a game 7.
People want to see game 7.
People want to see a game 7. So if you have to throw some strange fouls around here and there and piss off Steph Curry, that's what it is, so that we can see a game 7, right?
That's the way it works.
That's just the way it works. Anyways, in a minute we're going to come back and we're going to talk to you guys a whole lot more. We're going to dive into Jerel Ehlert's business and how he does things, and he's going to teach us all about probates. Isn't that right?
I am.
All righty. We'll be back in a bit.
Hey, Houston real estate agents. This is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is a place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. So make sure you reach out to us. Join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, JOIN, at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David with the House Flipping Network, and if you're like a lot of people, you're probably daydreaming right now about getting to fire your boss. Let me tell you about an exciting opportunity for you to do just that. If you've been looking to get into real estate investing or flipping homes, the House Flipping Network provides coaching and consultation services for people looking to grow a real estate investment business. If you're interested in more information, please reach out to me at david@houseflippingnetwork.com.
All right, and we're back. David, well, how's the weather and traffic out there today?
It's currently, traffic's all clear Friday. I'm sure people are taking their 3-day weekend.
I haven't heard that before.
Everyone went home.
Traffic cleared?
Traffic
looks
clear, yep. I'm sure there's, a few catches here and there. But as far as the weather goes, it's going to be another scorcher today. We have a high of 98 with a heat index of 106. Yesterday, Phoebe and myself, we actually got the little towels, the towels that you wet.
Cooling towels around the neck, man. It was too
work
hot
like a
out
charm.
Did you guys buy those online somewhere?
No, $5 at Walmart just so we wouldn't die of heat exhaustion.
You went to Walmart?
We took the dive. We went to Walmart.
No, nobody ever goes there.
It was bad.
And it was exactly how they say in the legends.
Did you guys see some Walmartians while you were there?
Oh, it was interesting.
I've been to Walmart once in the last few months, and I went in there with my camera ready to take pictures of Walmartians because that's the one thing that I want to do before I die. It's on my bucket list. Like, you guys get those pictures sometimes, like those random emails from a friend, and it's nothing but like 20 funny pictures of Walmartians. I mean, there's no other way to call them. And I've just figured at one point in life, I'm going to find one really, really good one, and I'm going to go viral with it. So
good luck.
Yesterday, speaking of weather, my assistant Brandon talks me into going running at 3 p.m. All right.
That's the hottest part of the day.
And I'm telling him this. I'm like, listen, we probably don't want to go.
I know how Brandon, he's off camera. He's camera shy.
See, you guys can't see Brandon, but he's
like,
rolling his eyes and giving me a bunch of
Hey, Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for joining us today. And so, anyways, it's 3 p.m. and this guy's like, all right, we're gonna go running, and I don't even know where he gets this whole thing that he wants to go running all of a sudden, because I've been asking him to go to the gym and go running with me for months. And now in the last 2 weeks, all of a sudden he wants to be fit, right? And I'm like, all right, fine, we'll go running at 3 p.m. Usually we go there and we run 3 miles. We go to the Memorial Trail, we run 3 miles. It's 3 p.m., mind you. We get about half a mile in, all right? Half a mile in, and this guy's already kind of like, all right, man, I'm getting tired.
He messed up.
His friend, he had a friend come with us. His friend totally disappears. We can't even find him.
Defensive right now.
You guys should see his face. By the way, thank you guys on Facebook for joining us. Thank you guys on YouTube for joining us live. We really appreciate you. We see you. We see all of you guys in your comments. Thank you again for being part of this show. We really appreciate it. We plan on bringing you guys some extremely valuable content. In fact, one of the things that we want to do consistently is find ways to help you grow your business. And that's whether you're a real estate agent, a real estate investor, or ideally, both, because we feel if you're in real estate, if you're a real estate agent, you should also be practicing real estate investing. That's really kind of our mantra here. And yesterday, we taught a class over at Quest IRA, our sponsors here at the show. And we taught a class of over 100 agents how to use their IRAs to go out and buy real estate. Not just buy, though, not just because anyone can buy real estate, but actually go out and find a real deal, an investment transaction, something that not only will they the way they capture equity, but they're going to capture interest, and they're going to make just passive income over the next 30 years. I mean, we were talking some really cool stuff, and then gave them options on how not to pay taxes on that income. I mean, it was phenomenal. We got a chance to really not just learn a lot, but teach a lot, and we found out a lot. We found out that most real estate agents are it's kind of funny. Their retirement does end up being real estate, but it's a very small retirement. So you would think that you would leave your 9-to-5 job, because that's what happens with most real estate agents. They go out, they work for corporate America for 20 years or so, and then they're like, all right, screw this stinks. I don't like working for corporate America. I'm gonna go out and sell houses, and I'm gonna start this phenomenal business and make a ton of money. And then we come to find out, we start doing research. Most real estate agents close less than 6 transactions a year. And so that really doesn't put a lot of money in your pocket. But then again, after 20 years of doing it, they end up with maybe 2, sometimes 3 rental homes, which are what I call accidental landlord homes. They end up buying a new house and renting the old one just because they read that in a book somewhere. And then they call that a retirement. And our proposition yesterday was, it's not just about owning 2 or 3. It's about owning as many as you can and going about finding them in every aspect that you can. So we talked about yesterday about buying subject to, and you guys should have seen the people's reactions. I mean, Jerel, when we were sitting in this room in front of 100 agents and somebody said you could take over someone's mortgage subject, or you could buy a house subject to the existing owner's mortgage.
Without telling the bank.
Without telling the bank, right? When we said that, you should have seen the faces on these realtors. It was like you just mentioned something that was fraud or illegal or whatnot. But you're an attorney. You see these transactions day in, day out.
I see this a lot. I've done it a lot whenever I was way back in the day. I got started doing real estate investing in 2000. I was working an IT job. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I thought, hey, I want to start a business. I don't like this real estate stuff. But then I got
you went through the roller coaster. You went through the phases.
I did.
All right. So you were working 9-to-5 somewhere.
I was.
IT.
Yeah, I graduated. I was out of high school, went off to the Navy. Did my service for a while. I was an electrician on a nuclear sub, and then got out. Started go to University of Houston. Got a degree in psychology. Deprogrammed myself with all the stuff I didn't want to keep anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
And got a I started out in IT because I was smarter than the average bear when it came to working on computers, and it's making a lot more than someone in psychology at the time.
Yeah. You know, it's crazy because psychology is so important, and yet it doesn't pay very well for some reason.
I know.
Isn't that right, baby? Isn't that why you didn't go the psychology route?
The only way you're going to make good money in psychology is getting either a government job, which is really hard to get, or putting up your plaque somewhere.
Yep.
And building up your own private practice.
Didn't you get a psychology degree as well?
Yeah, I have a psychology degree as well, and I was going to pursue my master's and doctorate, and then I was like, wait, I'm going to be broke.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing I did too. I saw, someone at the time was with a PhD and 5 years experience, only making $50K back in 2000. I was like, maybe not. So I went off, worked in computers for a number of years, and I started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad and trying to figure out a way to do the retirement thing. And then I said, okay, I'll do business. And then we found out that, well, hey, you can make more money in real estate.
Yep. That's funny because I did the exact same thing. That was my entryway into real estate is reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I remember not understanding a single thing that I was reading in that book, but I was so intrigued by the theories.
Right.
Because he doesn't actually, in the original Rich Dad Poor Dad, he doesn't actually tell you what to do. He just tells you theories on how his rich dad did it. And man, I thought that was awesome. So you read this book and all of a sudden you think real estate.
Yeah. So I started doing, I started talking to other folks, networking, and I came up with another guy that was doing training wholesalers, bird dogs. So I was a bird dog for a while, and back in 2000, wholesaling started. And then that's kind of how I got started.
So then you get into wholesaling, or you start bird dogging.
Bird dogging.
Okay, so you're
driving for dollars.
Going out there driving for dollars and finding potential properties that somebody else can buy.
Yep.
And you're making what, $500 to $1,000
first time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, and now how much has that changed in the last few years? Ridiculous.
Phenomenally different.
That is awesome, man. We want to talk more about that. We want to figure that out. What you went through and where you're at now and what your services are now. We want to figure out how we can bring that to everyone's attention. We're going to cover that here shortly, guys. Thank you very much.
Real estate agents. This is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is a place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. So make sure you reach out to us. Join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, JOIN, at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express, who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David with the House Flipping Network. And if you're like a lot of people, you're probably daydreaming right now about getting to fire your boss. Let me tell you about an exciting opportunity for you to do just that. If you've been looking to get into real estate investing or flipping homes, the House Flipping Network provides coaching and consultation services for people looking to grow a real estate investment business. If you're interested in more information, please reach out to me at david@houseflippingnetwork.com.
And we are back. We have Jerel here, and he's going to keep telling us a little bit about his story and his background. It's pretty interesting, actually. So
yeah, we just learned. See, I didn't know this, and Jerel, you and I have done some business here in the last few months, maybe years actually, and we just learned that Jerel went through actually working a 9 to 5, right, doing the IT stuff, and then got into wholesaling, essentially being a bird dog. Then you started wholesaling some, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I kind of get fed up with the guy who was teaching me, taking most of the chunk of the money.
That's usually how that works.
Giving me a little couple of seeds for my bird dogging.
Yeah, and now what do you make as a bird dog? Is it usually like $500 to $1,000?
$500, man.
Yeah.
$500.
Yeah, so that's how I got started too. I bird dogged my first deal and made $1,000 in college.
All right.
That's exactly how I got started too. By the way, guys, if you guys are watching us live, thank you again very much for watching us. We see you out there. We see your comments. Don't forget that if you have any questions that we can answer for you, we want to answer them for you live. So make sure you post them there on YouTube, on that camera, Facebook on that camera. Make sure that you post them on there because we are reading them. We do read your questions and we will answer them.
And people can also text too.
That's right. We can also accept your text.
Yeah.
You can text us at 24587. You can text anything you want. Just make sure that you put RR before what you send over, and we can get that right here live on the studio. So anything that you guys want to send over, let us know. We want to talk to you. We want to make sure that we are answering your questions. That's why we have professionals come into this show, because a lot of times it's very hard to get someone like Jerel to just call you and answer your questions. You know, you can't just call him and say, hey, you know, what's going on with this or what's going on with that. Especially with attorneys, and no offense to attorneys out there, right, Jerome? But everyone charges for their time. That's just the way it works.
That's what we sell. We sell our time.
You sell your time. You sell your expertise. So, all right, guys, make sure you guys take advantage of the opportunity that we're sitting here with Jerel, and he's going to answer a bunch of questions. Now, Jerel, you get into wholesaling. You start doing some wholesale deals, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so I like I said, I had a background in psychology, and I started driving for dollars, and I saw what the guy was teaching me about real estate. We had long conversations, and he got paid appropriately for the deals.
Sure.
And I said, well, hey, I can do that.
Yeah.
And that's really all that is.
And you understood people.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing.
Yeah. So it goes back to making use of the tools and resources I had in my hands and my head, and what I was able to do, and get out there talking to folks and start signing up transactions, and selling those deals to for fair prices. Understand what my buyer was, my rehab flipper, my landlord was looking for, and pre-segment my buyer's list and say, hey, you're looking for a property here. I got this. You want it? It's like, great.
Yeah.
Here's my assignment fee, which was very simple back in the day.
Yeah.
And then
what year was this? What year was this?
So I got started in 2000.
You were wholesaling.
I was bird dogging, wholesaling, and by 2001, I was doing the wholesaling on my own. I was starting to do the marketing to, the driving for dollars. I was also
And you were doing this alongside your 9-to-5 at the time, or did you quit? Okay.
So I was working IT, and IT is a lot of contract work at the time. I was working for a freight forwarding company, working help desk support, fixing computers, loading drivers. Have you tried rebooting it?
Oh, wow.
Back in the Windows 2098 XP days, the drivers were a lot more.
Those were the good old days.
The golden years.
Those were the good days of Windows. From what I remember, that's the only Windows I still remember and I can remember how to use. Now I'm like, well, how do you even open up a document? How do you where are my downloads? I don't even know anything anymore. I have to have Brandon look all that up, and he somehow knows it like it's magic, man. He just understands it. I remember those days. So you start in 2001 to 2000, what, 2 or 3?
About 2003 to 2004. I decided, well, let's take this to the next level, which is rehabbing.
Yeah.
I tried to rehab.
How hard was that?
Yeah, well, all those skills I get in reading people and working with individuals and stuff is my downfall and is my bane of my existence when it comes to rehabbing, because, well, I love rehabbers, I love contractors, and I love subcontractors. It's just that the relationship gets a little more interesting whenever I start seeing people lie to me a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not so much the lying, it's just that, they think I believe those, those stories and tells. So I decided that, I knew myself enough to know that running a rehab cruise is not my thing. So I partnered with one person. They had had MLS access, so that helped out there. So on my mailing list, and she ran the rehab cruise and talking to the contractors, making sure everything got done right. And she was used to being a landlord anyway. And then we brought in a third partner. That was about 2006. Had a very strong financial record and could qualify for all the financing side of it. There was a little partnership dispute, and they kind of fell apart about 2008, about the same time the crash did. So I paid my pound of flesh, got out of the market for a little bit, went back to computers, had my own IT managed services. So dealing with a lot of small business owners and understanding what their needs and issues were and their troubles with their stumbling blocks.
By this time, you already had tons of experience in real estate. You already had several partnerships, some that had gone well, some that didn't go so well, and that's usually the case with partnerships. That's our experience as well. And
you know, and I love it when people come in here and are real blunt and honest, because every time I meet like two newbies at a networking event, they're always like, "Yeah, we're gonna be the new partners, and it's gonna be awesome."
The honeymoon.
I always ask the partners, well, who does what? How are you guys splitting everything? Oh, we're 50-50.
Sure.
Who's doing the work? Oh, he's doing half the work and I'm doing half the work.
That is the least stable relationship.
You are doomed. You're never going to make it. And of course, I kind of look like a jerk for telling them that, but I'm just letting them know that out of experience.
Truth hurts.
The truth hurts. And I have been there so many times when we say it's a 50-50 partnership, we're going to split the work down the middle. It never works, because nobody ever shows up to every single event where work needs to be done.
It's so hard to determine what is 50-50 when you're saying we're just going to do everything 50-50.
Yeah.
And there's always, the person who showed up to do the walkthrough and somebody didn't, and all of a sudden there's animosity. It gets really complicated.
It begins small and then gets all that passive aggressive BS, and then downhill from there.
That's right. That's right. Our best partnerships now are a 70-30 split, and somebody's doing most of the work and somebody's bringing the money. That's kind of the way it works. And right now, that has been a phenomenal way for us to set up not just partnerships, amongst ourselves and our agents, because our agents get a chance to partner with us too on investment transactions, but outside people or people in our coaching group, House Flipping Network, when they bring us a deal, it's a 70-30 split. And the 70-30 doesn't mean we make 70. It means they make 70. And all we're doing is going out there and helping them with what the pieces that they're missing. But we're not worried about splitting everything down the middle and doing half the work and doing this and that. It just makes it easy, Now, of course, there are people that need a whole lot more hand-holding.
Sure.
And that's when we start saying, well, it's going to be a little bit more. But if it's someone that's experienced, and we've just figured out that that's generally where the sweet spot is. Now, you get into law at some point. You say, all right, screw all this. Let me get into helping people with their law problems.
About 2008, when partnerships started going, becoming hell on wheels, I decided to go back to go back to your roots. Go Lord, Princess Bride, where Andre the Giant says, "I'm going back to my roots." So I go back to IT. I started up in an IT managed services company because I'm completely ruined at this point as an employee. And boss tells me to do something, I'll look at him like, "That's stupid. Why are you telling me to do that? That does not make sense."
Once you've worked for yourself, you cannot be an employee. You're absolutely right.
Completely ruined.
Yeah.
And I realized that the crash followed me from real estate into business. Then my clients are having issues paying my invoices at this point. So I got to work for another IT managed services company, and where I'm doing the same job, I'm just going to stay paycheck and let him worry about all the accounts receivables.
Makes sense.
And realizing I have just maxed out my salary at the age of 38. I will never get another real, pay bump other than a cost of living increase. And I'm too young for this stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's going to be either a JD or an MBA to advance my career. And I started talking to people who had both. And one thing that really stuck with me was, he said, I was told I can find MBAs that I'm a dime a dozen. And no offense to anyone out there who has an MBA, you work your butt off and you get into a lot of
I know a lot of people with MBAs though. It's funny because I've hired temps before from a temp service.
With an MBA.
These are people who have MBAs and they're working for temp services.
Yeah. And they're only making like $15 an hour.
I know.
It's scary.
And so it's no offense. It's just that it's a very common degree to have. And so I'm looking at this and I'm saying, someone told me that, but a JD is, you cannot just find those just anywhere.
Sure.
And those are pretty special, pretty rare, and has a different kind of classification. And if you have it, it's not just the law. You can be something other than an attorney.
Sure.
Most of the Fortune 500 companies are run by CEOs and boards of directors who have a JD. So they understand the contracts, they understand the legal implications of their actions to control their companies and guide it through for the shareholders.
Mm-hmm.
So there it was. But because I was tied with family and my wife's career, I got her permission first.
Of course.
Before starting
That's always the way it works.
Seems pretty important.
Yeah, something that dramatic.
And what does your
effect.
wife do?
She's in IT.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
There you go.
So she was doing fairly well at the time, and we went, got her permission, started down that path. So I was stuck to the law schools here in Texas, and specifically here in Houston. Fortunately, we have 3 law schools. We have University of Houston, my alma mater, but everything that anyone couldn't get into UT, who's consistently ranked number 11 or number 15, depending on what you're looking at for law schools, get pushed down to University of Houston, which bumped up their scores. So I was kind of 10, 12 years out from undergrad. It's a little harder to get back into it. And then,
well, long story short, you end up getting your
South Texas College of Law.
You get it, and then you
Nice.
decide to start practicing real estate, but not just any kind of law. You start getting into real estate law.
Well, I mean, again, building on that base I already have. So
Yeah.
I'm a consummate networker. I have a lot of people that I've met over the years, over a decade's worth of experience in real estate investing as from the trenches. So going back to those people and those contacts and those networks and those people, those organizations, and saying, hey, look, I've been in your shoes. I've been there. I've done those transactions.
Yeah.
I've done the sub-twos. I've done the wraps. I've done the lease options when they're so
And you know how
easier.
intricate they get. You know
Yeah.
the paperwork that's required.
So all my stuff is geared. So South Texas was also known as Sue You, but very litigation based. So I was always looking at that as how do these transactions blow up?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sure.
You know,
That's
so
the way you got to look at them.
when something
What
goes
happens
wrong,
when they go to court?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I always drop my paperwork, my transactions, my instruments that I do for my clients are always based from the point of view of how can this go wrong so badly, and how can I preempt or avoid those pitfalls and traps.
Wonderful. And I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things we want to talk about is what happens, what are the pitfalls of certain scenarios. And I know that you're getting ready to teach a class over at Rich Club.
Yeah, they invited me over on the 20th to do a Monday night workshop on probates. My thought.
So you're going to be teaching them all about probates
No.
and how to process them, or
I don't wanna
leads,
do
or
that.
what are you doing over
That's
there?
my job. No, see, probate, I'm looking at this from how, one of the things they teach you a lot in law school is how to spot issues.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm approaching this from is how do I train, or how do I relay enough information to real estate investors to be able to spot when they have a probate issue staring them in the face.
Yeah. So last time we had an attorney here, the probate issue was that most real estate investors or agents, when they come across a probate deal, they want to immediately take it to probate court. They want to hire a probate attorney and take it to probate court. What is your feeling on that? What do you think is the best?
I will take your money.
Yeah, right.
No,
most attorneys would say that.
Yeah,
But
that's
what is the real process, and how can someone avoid having to go through that whole ordeal?
That's it. Probate. The estate statutes in the state of Texas offer a number of options, aside from full administration of a estate, whether it's with a will or without a will. There's a number of options depending on what you got. Most of them is going to involve that really apply to real estate investors. We're looking at monument of title, and or small estate maybe. And it all really, again, this is not legal advice.
This is not legal advice, guys. This is just us chatting about probate.
We're having a conversation, and what specifically applies to your situation is going to depend on the facts of the situation, what's available, and how long. All these details that are required to figure out, okay, which one really applies to you of many.
Well, let's talk about like a case. Let's actually throw up like a case study. One of the ones maybe that we've had in the past. We'll actually ask you, can we throw a case at you and you give us your opinion on what you think it would look like?
Something
Now, this
like
is
that.
one we've already solved.
Okay.
So we'll see what your approach to it would
Second
be.
opinions.
Guys, we'll come back here in just a second. Thank you guys very much for joining us.
Yeah, we'll knock that out with Jerel right after the break. Make sure you bring your questions.
Hey, Houston real estate agents. This is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is a place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. So make sure you reach out to us. Join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, JOIN, at teamwpr.com.
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service and an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve, contact them today at 832-675-6217.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David with the House Flipping Network, and if you're like a lot of people, you're probably daydreaming right now about getting to fire your boss. Let me tell you about an exciting opportunity for you to do just that. If you've been looking to get into real estate investing or flipping homes, the House Flipping Network provides coaching and consultation services for people looking to grow a real estate investment business. If you're interested in more information, please reach out to me at david@houseflippingnetwork.com.
And we are back. We have a really good show today. Lots of really interesting facts, learning a lot about Jerel.
We're learning a lot about Jerel, and we're learning a lot about probates. And look, it's crazy because I was speaking to a couple of real estate agents yesterday, and this was brought up yesterday when we were talking about where to get good deals from. How do you find a good deal? Where do you chase them down from? And so everyone was like, well, you just offer on properties on MLS. This is what real estate agents think, that you can just sit there on MLS and offer on properties. But what they don't realize is when they offer on that property, so do 100 other people. So we listed a house over in Sagemont. It was like last Friday. Over the weekend, we got 12 offers. 12 offers. And this was a property that was as is, probably overpriced a little bit. I mean, we didn't think it was gonna go anywhere, and boom, it was crazy. So anyways, I'm telling these real estate agents, well, look, there's ways for you guys to go out there and find some really good deals. And one of the ones that I brought up was probate, which is why we had you on the show.
Sure.
And so what I realize is that most agents or most investors out there are scared of probate transactions because they simply don't know how to process them. They think probate, no will, I don't want to touch it. It's too much. I got to hire an attorney. Oh no. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier is one of the cases that we had recently was pretty interesting because it wasn't a clear, easy case. So the clear, easy ones for me are, all right, someone passes away, there's no will, and there's two heirs, and they're best friends, they live together, and they'll sign off on heirship affidavits. Isn't that usually, one way to do it?
That is one way.
Okay. And so you mentioned that. You mentioned, okay, there's tons of ways to do this, and I get that. So I'm going to throw a case out there and see what you think and see how you would have handled it. And this was one that actually gave us a little bit of a headache. So
yeah, that's where the money's at.
And yeah, exactly. And we did make good money on it. So in this case, we had someone approach us and say, look, I want to sell my house, but I don't actually own it. We're like, well, what does that mean? Well, it's me and, my siblings, and it's really my mother's house, and she passed away, and, there's no will, or maybe there is a will, but we can't find it. It may have gotten buried in some of the stuff that she left behind, but it can't be found. And so we want to figure out how to sell it. So first thing we want to do is figure out how we can help them, right? Because that's our job as professionals. And so we start digging into it, and we come to find out, okay, fine. She wants to sell the house, right? But the issues that she's having is that her brother lives in another state.
Sure.
And we can't find him, or she can't contact him. She hasn't talked to him in 10 years plus. All right. She just knows he lives in another state.
Happens sometimes.
Her sister is mentally incapacitated.
Was that adjudicated by the court that she is no longer?
Yes.
Okay. So
yes.
she has a guard.
There's an actual order from the court saying that she can no longer make decisions for herself.
Right. And she lives in a special care home.
Okay.
Right. So she's like, well, how do I get them to sign off on things?
So she's a ward of wherever, and she has a guardian somewhere that can manage her affairs for her.
Correct. The sister.
Well, I mean, that's really going to be an adjudication by the court saying you are incompetent to handle your own affairs. So there's the guardian of the estate, which is whatever financial affairs they have, and there's guardian of the body or the person,
Right.
which is, maybe a lot of times you'll see where they have one or the other or both. You can have someone that can manage all the affairs and make all the decisions regarding her physical care, like a minor child for a parent. And then you have the guardian of the state. We have just one. They can they can take care of themselves. They can manage, clean themselves up. They can cook themselves food. They don't need day-to-day monitoring like they would in a group adult home, but they just can't manage a checkbook. In which case there would be a guardian of the estate. But it sounds like in this case there's both.
Right. So she did have a guardian. Yep. And it took us a little while to find that out. We had to do
Sure.
some research, and that took a little while. And so that actually, even though that seemed the most troubling part of the case,
That's the easiest.
At the end of the day, that was the easiest. It was
Yeah.
just finding out who was in charge of her stuff and whether they would sign or not.
Yep.
All right. Now, what about the guy over in another state that nobody's ever spoken to in the last 10 years?
Well, let's back up a little bit. When did mom die?
Mom, in this case, had passed
How many
away in the last year.
In the last year, okay. So I have a kind of a checklist, a conversation I go through in my head that tells me which one is most appropriate, which way of handling this is most appropriate for the estate. One of the first things you want to do is find out, okay, well, who is on title and when did they pass? So if you do it within the last 4 years, there's a lot of things that can happen. If it's more than 4 years old since they passed and you don't have a really good reason, you just never got around to it, there's fewer options available to you.
So in other words, your negligence to take care of it gets tougher through the courts.
I don't like the word negligence.
Procrastination.
That's attorney talk.
Procrastination.
Well, yeah, if you just let there and sit on it, I mean, you find this more in certain areas where, mom and dad passed, the kids took care of it. There's one of the subs that still lives in the house and is taking care of, they're paying taxes or, it's paid off now at this point. But, now the house is appreciated quite a bit. Something that's only worth about $40,000, 20 years ago is now worth about $500,000. Yeah. Let's do something about it. Well, it took a little too long to get around to it. So now your options are much more limited.
Got it. Now, when you say much more limited, does that mean you can't just go out and get the affidavits that you normally get, or what does that actually mean?
What does that mean by more limited? I'm wondering the same thing.
So in Texas, there's a number of different ways to do things depending on what kind of situation you have on your hands. There's temporary administration, which is, hey, we need to take care of business now. We can't wait to probate the will and get orders from the court, and so they have a temporary administration that says, okay, you're it until we decide otherwise. That way, a lot of real estate investors don't have wills, they don't have estate plans, but they have business operations that need to be addressed today, not in 3 or 4 weeks. There's monumental title, which means if all the bills are paid off, there's really not a whole lot going on. Here you go. There's independent administration, which is there's no will, but everyone's agreed in a couple of other ways of addressing it. But you can go ahead and take care of everything you need to, unless someone raises a complaint.
That's generally what heirship affidavits do. Am I right?
Heirship affidavit just says, it's an affidavit, it's a sworn statement saying, it's like under oath. Heirship affidavit is basically saying these are the facts as we know and understand them, and you can rely on them, reasonably rely on them. And if it's filed in the real property records and it stands for a number of years, then it's presumed factual.
Correct.
And if it's not been challenged, we'll just go with it.
Right. And usually most title companies will accept heirship affidavits as a way to clear title.
That's one way.
That's one way. So give us a scenario where, all right, we can't clear them up through heirship affidavits. Now we actually need attorney Jerel Ehlert to come out and help us process this thing. Where do I have to call you to make sure that you can help me get something cleared up?
Now you have to go through the court systems.
Yeah.
You don't need an attorney. The states can go through the probate system without attorneys in certain cases, but it's always best to have at least consult with one to talk about what are possible challenges and are you up for those challenges. You want to go through independent administration if they don't have a will, or if you can get to be an independent administration. Administration means you don't have a will, they died intestate. If they did have a will, there's an executor that's appointed by the court according to the terms of the will. And independent or dependent just says whether the court tells you what to do, and you have to beg their permission every time you do something with the estate, or you can do it all on your own and just let the court know whenever you're done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of times, I guess it becomes dependent when there's an heir that's under 18. The court will take the case. We had one like that where they wouldn't allow the sale of the home for less than a certain price.
Sure. And so court wants to, they'll usually do something you probably heard, the attorney ad litem.
Mm-hmm.
That's whenever there's maybe like a minor, like you mentioned before, or if there's someone that's unknown or can't be located, an heir that like your one of the siblings or brothers that you mentioned there. And that's basically a court will appoint an attorney to represent the interests of someone who can't represent themselves.
Got it.
So what happens in that scenario? Let's say that brother can never be found. What happens? Does the court put his money to the side?
So some things like that. I mean, the court has a number of ways some discretion to do a number of different actions. Sometimes if there's a sale of property and all the assets are disposed of and all the debts are settled from the estate, they'll go ahead and deposit the executor or the administrator will deposit those funds with the registry of the court, which means the court hangs on to the money for unknown persons or minor persons. And if they ever show up, great. Otherwise, after 7 or so years or however long, depending on where you're at, just declare the person as deceased, and then the money goes according to part of his estate now. Mm-hmm. And if you had any kids or anything like that. Yeah, so money gets passed around until someone finally makes a claim against it and is successful.
Eventually, if no one claims it, I'm assuming the state keeps it.
We call it sheets to the state, state of Texas. Yeah.
How long is that before Texas keeps all that money?
Oh, you're gonna make me lie on the air. I mean,
I just want to know. I'm gonna start researching how much money of mine is out there somewhere that I haven't claimed. There's a website for that.
There is unclaimed property.
Unclaimed property?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to look that up, and we'll post that on there for you guys that are worried about money sitting around that may be owed to you.
I've actually met people who I've showed that website to, and they go on there and find out that they have a Western Union or a MoneyGram transfer.
Yeah.
Hey, we had a scenario not too long ago. It was a house in the Heights that the lady that called us, it was her great grandmother that had passed away. There was no other relatives and there was no will, and she wanted to sell it, but she didn't have a way to be able to sell it. So she hired an attorney. Do you remember that case over
it was on West 8th Street.
West 8th Street. Yeah.
It was very complicated.
Yeah. And
because they had to put notices in the mail or in the newspaper.
In the newspaper.
Yeah.
And publication, notice by publication.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Certain things, depending on the day, how long have they passed, certain things are permitted under the older code or required under the newer code. So what happens something like that, there's a chart of descent and distribution. Texas has, bring me back to my days. We're talking about per stirpes with representation is how property is distributed in Texas. Mm-hmm. And that's property that's, in Texas. So which means if mom and dad pass, the kids get it. Right. And if one of the sibs, the brother or sister passed, but they had kids, so the children of that heir takes in their place.
Right.
So that's per stirpes with representation.
Mm-hmm.
And this gets very, very complex. You want to see how it used to be done? Go look at what was that A&E show that everyone was with the talking about the families on A&E with the lords and ladies civil stuff like that.
sounds like Game of Thrones to me. I don't know why.
The whole show based off of, well, I don't have an heir to pass the title and lands onto, so that's kind of how that was. It's very, very weird.
Yeah, but okay, so this lady ends up having to hire an attorney, and the attorney places ads in the newspaper, this, that, and the other, and I want to say it takes few months, maybe
so many times.
A very long process.
Yeah,
very long.
And then eventually he's able to hand her title. How was that?
So they figure out who all could possibly take from the estate.
Yeah.
And one thing the whole probate process is a matter of paying off all the last bills of the decedent, the person who passed, and anything that's left over goes to the heirs, and that's really what the process is all about. So they have to make sure, find out what all the debts of the estate and all the assets of the estate, secure those, and figure out who can take. And if there were any, not knowing more facts, figuring out who was, were they married, were they divorced, when they get divorced, who had the assets then and when, if there were step-sibs, if there were half brothers and sisters, if there were grandchildren, great-grandchildren available. So when you get down to the last one, it may take a while to figure out, okay, you are the last person to be able to take from this estate. Here you go. Have a nice day.
Nice. Now, as a real estate attorney and understanding probate so well, have you ever just found a way to create like a slam dunk deal? Like, have you ever been able to like find a vacant random house and just found who the heirs are and offer them money for it? Or does that ever happen on your end?
Well, it's complicated.
Yeah.
All
right. Well, we're gonna find out the answer to that here shortly, guys. Thank you guys very much for joining us. We'll be right back in just a few seconds.
Houston real estate agents. This is Alan Hernandez, broker at White Picket Realty. I want to let you know that when you're ready to stop working your real estate career and start building a real estate business, Team WPR is a place to be. Not only do we offer real results, real support, and real branding, but furthermore, 80 to 100% commissions of your hard-earned money going back to you. So make sure you reach out to us. Join at teamwpr.com. Again, that's join, JOIN, at teamwpr.com.
Is that our email?
Hey everyone, this is David over at White Picket Realty, and I wanted to tell you about my friends over at Plans Express who can save you the headache of running your own permits. These guys are committed to offering a one-stop solution for all your plan and permit needs. They're proudly serving their friends and neighbors in the Houston surrounding areas, and they offer great service at an exceptional value. With dedicated professionals ready to serve. Contact them today at 832-675-6217.
Let's do that.
Hey Houston, this is Alan Hernandez, and I want to remind you guys to visit our friends over at Quest IRA to learn everything there is to learn about investing with your IRA. Now, if you haven't been over there recently, you have to check them out. They have free educational classes, networking opportunities, the ability to tap into $1 billion for your real estate investing deals. These are the guys to know when it comes to learning about this kind of stuff. You want to make sure you visit them and check them out over at www.questira.com. Again, that's questira.com.
Hey everyone, this is David with the House Flipping Network, and if you're like a lot of people, you're probably daydreaming right now about getting to fire your boss. Let me tell you about an exciting opportunity for you to do just that. If you've been looking to get into real estate investing or flipping homes, the House Flipping Network provides coaching and consultation services for people looking to grow a real estate investment business. If you're interested in more information, please reach out to me at david@houseflippingnetwork.com.
And we are back. We are coming into our last segment here. This time just goes by way too fast.
It really does, man. I don't get a chance to really ask all the questions that I want to ask from our guests. Jerel was going to give us all of the secrets to taking over people's houses that have never been around, and somehow he buys them for like 2 cents on the dollar. Not even 5 cents.
Well, we got the secret, but
we
just don't have enough time to share with everybody.
We don't have a lot of time. So, Jerel, you tell us more about what you do and how we can contact you. You not only do you help people with probate issues, but what all do you cover?
Yeah, so looking out there on a landscape, a lot of my clients, but I have my practices coming from real estate, whether it's, real estate transactions. A lot of my practice is transactional. So,
so you're doing closings essentially?
I prepare a lot of the documents. So as we said earlier at the beginning of the segment of the being on the air, is that I sell my time.
Sure.
And part of the time I've prepackaged some of my time to do like a preset of closing docs.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you did an LLC for me, and that was phenomenal. That was one of the best LLC setups I've seen.
Oh, appreciate it.
Which is why we wanted to have you over. But you do that. You obviously help people with probate issues. Now, prepackaging closings, what does that entail?
So certain things that can be done over and over and again, certain things that, we can do efficiently, and I set flat rate prices on those.
Right.
Because we know about how much for a standard transaction, about how much time it's going to take and what we're going to need to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, first lien set of docs, promissory note, deed of trust, I do an amortization schedule, which is telling the borrower how much, when, what time, and how much all those payments are going to be. Total,
Nice.
And those things are
those are like for owner finance transactions, that kind of stuff.
private deals. I've worked with Quest quite a bit and some of their account holders.
It was interesting because when we were at Quest yesterday, one of the things that Nate Long recommended to every realtor that was there is that when you approach someone to borrow money from them, you want to use an attorney to help draft the documents.
Sure.
And that's something that you do.
I do.
That's something that you can put together. So you can put a deed of trust together. You can put a note. You can make sure that there's an agreement amongst those parties, right?
All the things that you're going to want to use for a first lien deed of trust. We can do a second lien deed of trust. We can do escrows for rehabs. We can do equity kickers. So if you want to do equity participation between the borrower and the lender, we can structure deals that way. We can also structure business entities.
People don't know what equity kickers are. That's actually one of the coolest ways to set up a real estate transaction. And just to make a long story short, it means you walk up to someone and you say, hey, I want to borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars. And in exchange, I'm not going to pay you anything until the deal is done. And I'm going to pay you out of the equity that is there. Whatever we make, we're going to split it in a percentage. Sometimes that's
you can do part loan, part equity. So they are getting some payments, but they're getting a reduced payment.
Yep.
During the life of the loan. And then at the end, after all the net is taken out, then you get like a cut.
portion.
Yeah, because of the deal itself.
So people don't realize how creative you can get with these deals. If you can think it, and as long as it's legal and there's no law or statute against it, you can essentially put it together. You can put it to paper and you can make it work.
Yep.
So a lot of times it's up to the investor or the real estate agent or anyone out there that's practicing real estate to think of how they would ideally like to see a transaction happen. And it's just a matter of approaching you and saying, hey, this is exactly how I would like to see it. What do you think? Can you make it work?
We can make that work.
Exactly. And I've done some of those with you too. We've done some subject to stuff. We've done some raps together. And it's awesome. How can someone contact you? What's a good place to contact you?
Well, my website is Ehlert Law, EHLERT law.com. My phone number is 346-231-1122. Again, that's 346-231-1122.
Did you guys get that on there? Your phone's going to start blowing up.
We'll put it into the comments too. We'll put some contact information.
Appreciate that.
Very good. So we have some interesting events coming up this weekend. First off, I don't know if you guys...
This is one Jerel brought up.
Yeah.
Because he's a staunch supporter of
Is that right?
At this point, I'm looking for asteroid for president for 2016. So.
Yeah, exactly. So we have this weekend, for those of you guys that don't know what to do this weekend, there is a Trump rally coming up.
Yep, so it's in the Woodlands.
All right. And if you guys have been following Trump and his rallies, I think they tend to be just as entertaining as
his campaign.
As the campaign. So it almost makes you want to go, just so you can stand in the background and just watch people kick each other's butt. So
I'm afraid to go out there and get my butt kicked.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't get too close, man.
Let's stay peaceful this week in Houston.
Yeah, please, guys, if you go out there, don't embarrass us and
whether you support them or not.
Don't let us find you on Facebook or YouTube or World Star. Please don't make those videos, guys. We also have some other cool stuff coming up this weekend. What's going on?
Comic Palooza is going on this weekend. I heard Norman Reedus is going to be out there, Lou Ferrigno,
nice.
A bunch of big names. It's one of the, biggest festivals in the country.
It's pretty awesome, man. They have live
things.
Concerts. They have people dress up in costumes, and then they do they act it out as cosplay.
I would love to go.
Where's this at?
It's at the George R. Brown.
Yeah, it went out in our weekend email. Let me check it out.
Yeah, if you guys aren't on our weekend email, make sure you email us. info@whitepicketrealty.com is where you can reach us, and we'll add you to our buyer list. We'll add you to our anything list. If whatever you guys want us to email you, if you want us to email you our weekend broadcast on cool things to do or events coming up, that's how you can get a hold of us. And speaking of cool things to do or events coming up,
speaking of cool, and looked at me, I was like, yes.
Speaking of cool, BB, next Tuesday we have a special event happening over with Real Acquisitions.
Correct.
They've invited us to come out and present a case study. And, it's funny enough because the case study that we're presenting are docs that you drew up.
Oh, fine.
Yeah, it's very cool. So it's a case study on subject to transactions, and we're going to be on stage with two of our really good friends in the industry. AG, CEO of Rural Acquisitions, and just a phenomenal investor, phenomenal person. Love that guy. And then one of my favorite people in the industry overall, I call him Big Swole. And if you guys have not met Big Swole, his real name is Alexander Cedillo. He actually eats iron waffles for breakfast. That's literally what he does on his spare time, and that's why
I think he commented earlier.
Did he comment earlier?
Yeah, he was commenting about, I guess, he's surprised we can fit Big Swole on our program. I guess he was talking about you. I couldn't figure it out.
He says I'm Big Swole, but I look like such a tiny little shrimp compared to this guy. It's hilarious. So it's really cool that we get a chance to be on there and we get a chance to share some information with you guys on some of the cool transactions that we do. Guys, these are transactions that are way outside of the box. The transactions that we're going to be covering in this event aren't this typical stuff that as real estate agents, for you agents that are watching, these aren't the kind of things that you're taught to know about. These are the kind of things that you're taught not to know about. Keller Williams and some of the other places will teach you about, listings and calling and maybe representing a buyer. But what we're going to teach you with this class is how to create passive income, leveraging other people's money and leveraging your time. It's phenomenal. Make sure you guys come out and join
I got
us.
the info on it. It's next Tuesday, June 21st. From 7 to 9:45 p.m. at the 4 Points by Sheraton Houston Greenway Plaza.
There you go.
Right off of 59.
There you go. And then don't forget to check our website. Don't forget to check our Facebook page. We have some other really cool events coming up that we're providing here at White Picket Realty, House Flipping Network. Thanks again, Jerel Ehlert, for stopping by and joining us
thanks for having
today.
me.
And don't forget to check Jerel out next week over at Rich Club. He's going to be talking a whole lot more about probate. Guys, thank you for joining us. Keep up your Realty Ruckus.
Grades. What do you grade yourself today?
Grades? Man, do you really want me to grade myself again today?
I want to hear it.
Well, all right. I'm going to give myself a very strong A++.
Golly.
Apparently I get an F today.
BB did not take down her audio during a break.
There was a secret background microphone during the commercials.
No. So we're sitting here talking mess.
We were talking mess and they caught us.
We're sitting here talking mess about everyone watching us on Facebook.
We're all busted.
All the horrible things
They
that we
heard the
said.
secrets that we said.
Oh, no.
We'll catch you next Tuesday, guys. Make sure you're on here, 10 a.m. live, the Realty Ruckus.
Thank you, guys.
This has been the Realty Ruckus. Make sure and join us every Tuesday and Friday for new episodes. Find us on YouTube and Facebook for replays of previous episodes. And as always, keep elevating yourself and keep up your ruckus. Thanks for listening. Realty Ruckus has been brought to you by Smart Pig Media Productions.